Like many great horror franchises, the Saw series comes to a close, not with a bang, but with a whimper. But also with the idea in mind that it's probably not really the last we'll see of the franchise, which is definitely the case. If you see the final chapter in the title, your immediate thought is, well, maybe for now, but there'll be another, which is it is the case with Saw. Do we call this Saw the final chapter? Do we call this Saw 7 or Saw 3D? I don't know. Pick your choice. Whatever. It's the seventh Saw movie basically, and I mean, sort of brings things to a conclusion, sort of wraps things up. At least what was kind of set up from maybe like the fourth movie on, I guess. So it really continues from the sixth movie where we see the conflict between Jigsaw's ex-wife and Hoffman, the pursuant to the throne of all things Jigsaw, I guess. But he escapes his trap in the end, and basically he's after her in this movie, and kind of what we have in all these Saw movies is the main kind of plot, but then like the side plot with the traps that may or may not sync up well with everything. This probably syncs the worst because I don't know, the traps have nothing to do with really anything in this plot about Hoffman after Jigsaw's ex-wife, Jill. Yeah, Jill is her name. Who is Babelicious, by the way. So good on you, Jigsaw. You got a nice widow there. But this one is notable for having the distinction of being in 3D, which I don't know. Did it ever have a home video release in 3D where you could like buy a 3D DVD for a 3D TV at the time? I don't know, but this is 2010. Every movie after Avatar in 2009 had to be in 3D. You had to do it. I never saw it in theaters in 3D, so I can't really speak to how good it may have been effects wise with the 3D effect. I'd probably venture a guess that it wasn't that great, since 90% of movies weren't. I mean, really, there are only like three good 3D movies, in my opinion, which of course was Avatar and Prometheus and the Final Destination. Actually, the Final Destination was pretty good in 3D. So maybe this one was good in 3D. I don't know, but it's not too noticeable like stuff in the 80s where it was like the analogrific 3D with the red and blue glasses. This is a new digital kind of 3D technology and all that. More of a subtle, immersive kind of experience, I guess, though there are definitely some moments where stuff pops at the screen and you're like, oh yeah, this was 3D. Also, the movie looks just a little bit brighter, I guess. You think of the Saw movies and you think, kind of a dark, grimy kind of thing, but the brightness is a little bit up in the picture in this film. I'm guessing because of the 3D technology involved. So it is kind of funny to see like the opening trap, which is in public. That was like one of the things that they were hyping about the movie at the time. I remember it was like, they're going to feature a public trap. Isn't that going to be cool? I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, it's like in broad daylight and kind of looks a little off, but whatever. And even like the blood in the movie feels like it's kind of saturated in a weird kind of way. I guess because of a darker or more reddish red wouldn't appear as well. I have no idea, but it looks noticeably different. So it's kind of like a funny thing. But we have that. So we have this main plot going on, and we have the sub main plot, I guess, with Patrick Flannery playing a Jigsaw survivor who's written a book and he's on tour, showing up on morning shows and being like, yes, I survived Jigsaw, but it made my life better, which is kind of like it's a funny thing in a way because Jigsaw's philosophy is this weird kind of self-help guru perversion, and he's kind of inverted it right back into the masses in this funny kind of way. it would have been so much better, I think, if Jigsaw had been alive for a plot like this. But instead, I don't even really know who's setting up the traps and stuff. Like in this movie, is it Jigsaw's ex-wife? Is it Hoffman, the cop? You know, I don't really know. They don't explain that well. Somebody's setting up these very elaborate traps. Somebody has the time to do it, but they don't explain it in the way that they usually do at the end of these Saw movies. They explain something else, which I'll get to in a minute. But you have all that, but the kind of halfway through twist to the movie is that Sean Patrick Flannery's character, he faked the whole thing. He never was in a Saw trap. He just was, in a bar one night and he saw someone talking on TV and someone says, well, if they weren't so fucked up in the head after all this, they could have made a good PR deal. Then, the light bulb goes off. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And so that's what he does. But Jigsaw gets wind of it, or somebody gets wind of it. So I don't know. Maybe it was Jigsaw's pre-plan, because there is a flashback where he meets him, the famous backwards cap hoodie Jigsaw, hello fellow kids, Jigsaw image that you see. So maybe that's what he had planned out too. But I mean, whatever. Who did it? I don't know. But he goes through this whole thing where his wife is kidnapped, his publicist is kidnapped, and all this stuff, and he has to go through a Saw trap. That's it. Traps aren't especially amazing in the movie, though. Going back to the beginning one, it is kind of a funny, almost unintentionally funny trap where it's this love triangle, right? It's like something you'd see on Jerry Springer, where it's like, oh, this girl is toxic. She's making you guys break the law, but she's playing you both. You have to decide: do you let her live or do you kill one or the other? Then they both high five and kill her, and that's the end of the trap. So hey, whatever. But obviously, this is the last chapter, at least for a while, and things are kind of whittling down a little bit, lowering in quality. I mean, yeah, of the original seven, yeah, probably this is the lesser of them all. I mean, it's not completely for lack of trying, I guess, but it seemed like they had run out of ideas. It seems like they could have possibly resolved everything for Saw 6, but they decided to give it kind of one go around for this one, for kind of like this, the hunt is on kind of thing, for Hoffman kind of going after Jill and all that. And, there's some nice surprises. Cary Elwes, who played Dr. Gordon in the original film, he's back with, cane and a prosthetic leg. And what we find out, spoilers, he's been kind of helping Jigsaw all along too. He's yet another apprentice of Jigsaw who helped him out with the more medically complex traps. When you think about it, it's how is Jigsaw doing it? Putting stuff in people's bodies and making sure that they don't die before he even gets a chance to set up the trap and things like that. So that ended up making a lot of sense. But one of the stipulations to his whole partnership with Jigsaw was that if anything happens to my ex-wife, you take care of the motherfucker who did this, right? And that's how we resolve the series, I guess. Hoffman kills Jill, and Dr. Gordon kills Hoffman. That's it. Game over. That's the end of the Saw series. That's the grand plan of everything. But of course, we would have more Saw movies after this. But this is generally the plot that unfolds throughout this series. This, blood and guts drenched torture porn, if you want to call it that, series of films, which they're entertaining movies, I guess. Sometimes they're a little mind-boggling with some of the crazy plots that come up, and just sort of leap of faith logic that you have to take, overly complex plans and all that. But it's fine. It works well. It was kind of a fun thing while it lasted. I think that's why a lot of people today in 2023 are kind of flocking to Saw X, even more than the other ones that tried to revive this series, because it feels more like a return to the kind of form where there was that, again, the glorious time back in kind of the mid 2000s, where it's every Halloween You had a Saw movie. You went to go see it because that's just what you did. It's what we did back then. You know, it's good times. So I mean, this has been a pretty nice, entertaining Saw marathon that I've done this year. I think I'll leave the other ones for later. But this is Saw 4 through 6 that or 4 through 7, I should say, that I've reviewed this year. And pretty good series on the whole. Has its highs, has its lows. Good blood, gnarly effects. Cool. I mean, I'm more like the '80s guy. I love the Freddy and Jason, Michael Myers, and all that. But there's definitely a place for Jigsaw, and he'll always be in our hearts. And here's to another 20 years of traps. So that's my review. Saw 7, the final chapter in 3D. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're doing 31 Days of Horror, 31 days of horror movie reviews. Spooky, scary movies all throughout October, so stay tuned for more. And until next time, stay scared.